Hello everybody, we're getting on with some more planting outside today, but first we need to do something inside. Now this part of the polytunnel was planted up quite early, but this part was quite late, and it wasn't so very long ago, no more than a couple of months, and it looked pretty sparse in here and pretty empty, but things are filling up and growing up, and I need some more space to sow some more seeds. So I'll get the camera off over there and I'll just give you a quick look down here. So what we have here is we've got two butternut squashes, and if you can imagine that second hoop in, there's a plant planted there, a butternut squash, and there's one planted here, and they both were angled off to grow to each other so that they went past each other and filled the space at either end, and it's now doing that admirably. So where that looked quite sparse, it's quite full. These plants in here are a mixture of box peppers, there's a tomato there, there's a chilli over there waiting to be composted, and we've got some more peppers and tomatoes here. There's an orange type there, actually there's one ripe I can see there, and these are lunchbox peppers. There's another ripe one there as well, so they're doing great. These are my special peppers, which I'm going to do a video about in a couple of weeks. And down here is my chief concern. This is a brassica seed bed. I sowed line after line of different brassicas, and I've been using them, hence why there's holes in the vegetation, but there's still plenty more. And what I'm chiefly concerned with today is this row here, which is like a black Tuscan kale, and the row just behind it, which is a dwarf green curled, I think it is. And we're going to use up all the other plants in here, or pot them on, or put them into modules or something, but that bed needs clearing this week because I need to use it, as does that bed at the back over there. But that's for a different day, different video, different thing altogether. But I need to start using these brassicas up. Let's go outside and have a look. So just recently here, just moved past this one, I had my garlic and elephant garlic in there, and I had a stunning crop. They all came out, the bed was tidied up, and I put two different types of cabbage in. You can see they're growing away very happily at the minute. And I've got I think it's two types in there. There's a winter king at the back half of the bed, and this one at the front is Savoy Perfect. They're both a Savoy cabbage for the winter. So that one's set and growing away happily now. This one is where I took the onions and shallots out of the other day, and that's ripe now for planting. And that kale I just showed you is going in there. As I say, those cabbages also came out of that brassica seed bed, as did these sprouts here. This bed needs a good tidy up, good weeding, 5-minute job done. But then I come to these beds. These are now empty and ready for use, and you can see I've got lettuce up that end. They are replacing the lettuce that were here, which I've just hoofed out. They're on the compost heap because they went to seed. In this bed here I had my broccoli, wasn't a very good crop, and I've got purple sprouting broccoli at the end there, and I'm thinking, no, I'll hold that thought. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one. I've got some Caraflex cabbages up there. We've had a couple, they're nice, and there's a couple more to come, and 2 or 3 of them are being used as sacrificial plants, so to speak, because bugs have attacked them. So rather than rip them out, let the bugs carry on feasting, because they need to eat too. And I'll get the good ones out over this next week, and we've got this area to plant. In this end bed, the back half of that bed has got more purple sprouting broccoli in, and at this half it's a violet cauliflower. Never ever really done too well for me in the past, never really got a head bigger than a sort of a decent calabrese size, but we'll try. And yeah, I've got some more of them in there actually in the polytunnel. So all these brassicas, all under that frame there, those purple sprouting, all these cabbages in here, and these sprouts in here, and the kale, all came out of that one little square bed. That's equivalent of about 4 16-foot by 4-foot beds, out of that one little seed bed, and I'm going to do the same in there again. I'm going to plant some seeds in there later this week and tide us over to the next season. So the first thing I need to do is dig some of these kale plants out carefully. They're only going to have, well, I hope they're only going to have smallish roots, but because I've planted them in rows, you pull out a clump like this. Yeah, there's a bit of weed in there, a bit of grass and that, but there's tons of plants in there, and that's probably all I'll need of that variety, although I will take another clump with me just in case while we go out and plant. So I'll dig another clump up. Again, another clump, say a bit of weed, a bit of grass, well that's alright. And what I'll do is I'll just take off some of the soil as well. These are getting planted straight now. If I was going to take 5 or 10 minutes to do it, I would leave that soil on. There we go, that's enough to separate them. And we'll take these out and we'll get them planted. So I've got my plants and I've got a nice clean bed to plant in. Now these are brassicas. Now if your site or your garden is prone to clubroot, you might want to treat these plants by just sprinkling on them a little bit of lime, and you might also want to put some in the planting hole as well if you're susceptible to that. I'm not here. I don't think I've ever had it. I think I might have seen some signs of it when I was pulling that broccoli up, which also might explain why that was a poor crop. But I'm deliberately putting some brassicas in it over winter to see what happens, to see if I have got it really. It was sort of touch and go whether I had it or not on those plants. So I need to find out and then work towards that. So I've got a load of plants separate here, and now because this is no dig, I'm not putting any lime down, I'm not putting any feed in, it's all in here already. And it's just a case of digging a hole and popping them in. Now these will probably fall over onto the soil as they grow. That's fine, just leave them be. You could stake them if you want to, I don't bother. So these will sulk for about a week. You'll see all the leaves are starting to droop and it looks like they're dead. That's because you've taken all the soil and all their moisture off, and they're a little bit confused right now. So a week to sulk, weeks to bulk. But these will all come back and grow happily and feed us through the winter. And if this is your first time here, Green Side Up is dedicated to helping gardeners of all levels, ability and experience. So if you hit that big red button, it's just down here, and subscribe, then I can help you too. I'll just finish planting that off, and that's as easy to get, and it's all from a little tiny seed bed in the polytunnel there. So that's this bed done now. It just needs covering, the same as this. I've got some more of this cover stuff in the shed I need to dig out. So over this next week, I'll get this covered. I've got some more of this alkathene pipe at the back as well I need to cut up and fashion another one of these protection barriers, because things like sparrows will have a go at them, pigeons will. It's surprising actually when you watch the amount of birds that will have a go at brassicas. It's not just the old faithful pigeons. Pigeons are probably the worst. So they won't need anything doing to them now. I will just leave them to it, and I'll just weed in between the plants up until about the start of winter, sort of the end of November, start of December. And you'll find between those months and April, not a great deal of weed growth occurs. You'll get a little bit, and if it starts to get too thick, you just go in with the hoe and take it out. But otherwise, they don't need a great deal of maintenance now. And these plants will probably still be in April next year, and we'll be eating from them when there's very little else on the plot. I'll have things like leeks and parsnips, sprouts and purple sprouting broccoli, but that makes a nice sort of winter feed with everything else that I've got in storage. So that's it, nice easy job. It's just a case of sowing a couple of lines of seed, hoofing them out and planting them out when the crop came out of the ground, which in this case was the onions and shallots. Continuation of growing space, continuation of food. So while they're growing, we're eating other stuff on the plot. So my spacing on this kale was terrible and the lines are wibbly wobbly everywhere. So I've got my little planting grid out here, and then I've dibbled some holes in with my little dibber. And in this bed I'm putting chard. This one is purple sprouting broccoli. Out of that bed in polytunnel, there they are. And then I've got a couple of trays of beetroot to go in here. There'll be some left over, but that's fine. I'll just fill that bed up and then we're done. And I'll do all this on the super fast, shall we say.
If I could hear my father's voice, he would tell me to move on. He would say I'll be just fine. Yeah, he would tell me we have time, time to laugh and time to heal. Our favorite song is on repeat, drinking wine until the dawn, knowing soon we'll be back home. Ooh, I'm thinking about you. Ooh, I'm wishing that you knew. That I'm thinking about you. I see that smile on your face. You told me about the hidden place, something in the atmosphere. You're always here, you always here. Time to laugh and time to heal. My favorite song is on repeat, drinking wine until the dawn, knowing soon we'll be back home. Ooh, I'm thinking about you. And I'm wishing that you knew. That I'm thinking about you.
So that's all the planting I'm going to get done today. Most of those beds are filled out now. There's a couple of little gaps for a few little plants that I've got up here on my hanging shelf. And I've given a load of purple sprouting broccoli away, about 20 plants to a plot holder up there who's just digging tatties up, so that'll fill that bed for him, which is brilliant. Some of this kale, I know one of my neighbours down here will have some. The rest I will pot on and use, or plant out somewhere else if I can find some space for them. And then I can clear this bed and it's ready for more seed sowing and the bed over there, and I can do that later this week. The other thing I need to do is cut the alkathene pipe and get those beds out there covered, so we'll get that done this week. But really happy that I've got that done out there today. But that's it for today. Please look after yourselves and stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra now.